party stood atop the spire of rock that they had been seeking for nearly 2 weeks, staring out into the open sky ahead of them, just above an expansive layer of clouds. The nearly setting sun painted a picture of absolute beauty, as though you could spend hours simply sitting and enjoying the serenity, under different circumstances. Mavoro stood at the other end of the spire, waiting for the group to finish any preparations they saw fit. The group wasted no time and told Mavoro that they were ready, and Mavoro began explaining the purpose of this final trial. Mavoro spoke of the turning of eras and the events that shaped them, but most importantly that in every era there is a single monumental event that acts as the true catalyst, one that goes down in history. Mavoro seemed to be indicating that this moment, or perhaps what comes after, is one such event. Rain began falling from overhead and a distant thunder rolled. As Mavoro spoke, it became very clear that his purpose in battling the party was meant to unite them, to truly test their abilities, to ensure that they are ready for all of the hardships that lie ahead of them. Mavoro summoned 9 large stones from the ground behind the group that emerged from the stone with a cracking sound, as he gave one final challenge to the party, to prove to him that they were worthy. And with that, the final trial commenced. Mavoro summoned a massive wall of stone, splitting the battlefield in two, trapping Laren and May from the rest of the group. As Laren and May worked together to scale the wall and rejoin the rest of the group, May realized that the stones that had emerged from the ground contained letters on them in various languages. Laren and May reached the top of the wall and joined the rest of their party, who had already begun their assault on Mavoro, but so far with little success due to his near supernatural speed and strength. Mavoro barraged Gar with a flurry of strikes, nearly causing him to fall unconscious in a single rush. Zeos identified a few more letters, and May realized that the stones spelled the word persevere. May renewed the party's resolve, stating that they need to find the strength to persevere and endure in the face of overwhelming obstacles. The group united and began to turn the tides, and though there were a few close calls, eventually Mavoro stopped the entire trial, proclaiming that the group was victorious. The rain slowly faded and the thunder became distant once again, as the party and Mavoro all caught their breaths. Mavoro proclaimed that the party had proven themselves well, and that it was clear to him why they were chosen. Mavoro stated that there is still much to be done, more memoriams to be found, and mysteries of the First Age to uncover. He then sat down on a nearby stone and invited the party to join him, to ask whatever questions they may have. Mavoro finally explained that the memoriams were created as a failsafe, should the events of the First Age begin to repeat themselves, specifically the events that ended the First Age. Mavoro explained that he was a Deva of Milil, and that Milil was the one behind the creation of the memoriams. May asked a simple question: why this group was the group that was chosen, which Mavoro said he did not know, but would be answered shortly. During the conversation, it became clear that Mavoro's knowledge seemed to primarily pertain to the memoriams themselves and their purpose, stating that any knowledge of the specific events of the First Age was not told to him, partially in case he was captured, and also because it was meant to be told by the memoriams. Mavoro asked where the party had found the first memoriam, and the party explained that a shadow being was feeding on it when they found it. Mavoro realized the connection between a shadow being and the abyss, explaining that the abyss has always wanted to turn the material plane into one of the infinite layers of the abyss, and that this could pertain to the events that ended the First Age. Mavoro explained that he has lived for many centuries, but the majority of his time was spent configuring the trials, and then simply waiting for the day that a memoriam would awaken. As such, his knowledge of any secrets of the current world was limited. Gar asked him about the city of Besmedin that Belagron had told him about, although Mavoro didn't know anything new. Gar also asked if he had heard of the Isle of the Gods, and to this, Mavoro smiled, and said that it was information he was not allowed to share. May shared the multi-language document that she held, and Mavoro noticed a section that contained a mixture of celestial and primordial, and said that only someone that spoke both languages fluently would be able to properly decipher it. Mavoro gave the group one of his stone bracers as a reward for successfully completing every trial. He said that the journey ahead of them is long and full of secrets. He told them to be strong for each other, saying that it is not any one of them individually that makes them strong, but their bond as a group. Mavoro summoned a stone archway, seemingly leading into nothingness. He stated that the party had been chosen because of their qualities, and because of their strength, but also for another reason that they would learn through the doorway. Mavoro then summoned the memoriam that had disappeared into the pool of water and returned it to the party. One by one, the group walked through the doorway until Zeus was the last one behind, and then Zeus did something quite out of the ordinary. He prayed to Sehanine for guidance on his journey and for knowledge of this world and how it works, with the hope that this knowledge would be used for good. And finally, Zeus entered the doorway as well. The party emerged on the other side of the doorway into an unexpected sight. Tiled stone flooring, marble-like stone walls, a long, intricate red rug, and a double staircase leading upstairs. The group found themselves in a mansion, though they were not quite sure how. Dust covered the floors, and though nothing felt particularly decrepit, it felt very old. The party encountered two ghosts who introduced themselves as Gunther and Eleanor Barravin, the servants of the Midway Manor. As expected, the party had many questions, especially when the ghost referred to the group as planeswalkers. Gunther and Eleanor explained that this mansion was called the Midway Manor and existed on the Half-World, the plane between planes, which Gunther and Eleanor said could only be accessed by planeswalkers. After proper introductions, Gunther and Eleanor gave the group a tour of the mansion while continuing any explanations. Gunther explained that they remembered nothing of their life before becoming ghosts, but they do remember being given the choice by Milil to pass on or to serve in the Midway Manor, and they happily chose to serve. Eleanor immediately began cleaning the excess dust, embarrassed for how the manor looked. Gunther explained that the mansion was built approximately 1262 years ago by Milil, and during the conversation it became clear that both Gunther and Eleanor did not realize that the beginning of a new era had begun so many years ago, and that planeswalkers were not nearly as prevalent as they used to be, if nobody has ever heard of them. Gunther explained that being a planeswalker is something that a person is born with, and that it must be refined over time. Gunther also explained that the mansion was built for memoriams, though he didn't know what memoriams actually were. During the conversation, May began playing a flawless musical piece on a piano in the living room, seemingly perfectly by memory, but stopped when she realized that it was drawing a lot of attention. The group continued their tour into a storage room/armory, and eventually into the dining room and the kitchen. Gunther explained that the manor contains very powerful enchantments, although certain enchantments on specific rooms of the manor have faded with time. He told the group that an enchantment could be taken from a magical item and used to repower the rooms if they should choose to do so. The group continued to the basement of the manor, where they discovered 8 inactive circles of teleportation. Zeus determined that with enough time, and once he learns to successfully create a circle of teleportation himself, he may be able to determine the location that some of them used to lead to. Gar realized that there were 8 circles, 8 memoriams, and he thought of the Circle of 8, the ruling council in Rento, capital of Ador. The group contemplated paying a visit to the Linzor family of secrets, at some point in their home city of Rand, which also houses the Arcanium, where Zeus is from. The party then proceeded to the upper floor where the bedrooms were. Each member picked a bedroom, and Gunther explained that the bedrooms could be changed to each person's liking, from the arrangement of the room to the furniture to the aesthetic, ambiance, and even the view out the window. Each party member began thinking of what changes they would like to make when Zeus heard the memoriam start chiming and an echoing chime coming from downstairs. The group made their way to the living room, and after some investigative work, May found the source of the echoing chime coming from behind a bookshelf. Upon looking at the bookshelf, etched into the back plate of each shelf from top to bottom were the letters F, A, C, E. Gar told May to play the notes on the piano in that order, and the bookshelf opened, revealing a hidden passage back down to the basement. In this new section of the basement, the party found a wide-open room with pristine, ornate marble walls and intricately designed floors with 9 raised platforms throughout, 8 of which had podiums on them, and one of the podiums was glowing with a symbol matching that of the shape of the memoriam that the party held. Zeus placed the memoriam on the podium, and the room began to take on a soft, magical glow, and the center platform began to show a living memory play out. The party saw a vision of a beautiful landscape, children picking flowers in a meadow, and a nearby majestic capital city. The group couldn't explain why, but they knew that what they were seeing was from the First Age. The vision continued into the city, where they saw a woman in a silver and cyan dress helping the common folk, who they learned was named Princess Adelaide Cyrenae. She was accompanied by a knight clad entirely in heavy armor, who was apparently her protector. The knight was known as Sir Malcolm, and during her interactions with the common folk, he saved the princess from a beggar attempting to kill her. A servant of the princess, named Sybil, approached and told her that her father had heard rumors of darkness on the rise, threatening to overwhelm the land, and had sent Sybil to ask Princess Adelaide to contact their allies on the other planes. Adelaide went to a building and caused a doorway to connect to a plane with dense forests and pastel colors in the sky in the middle of a sunset, and the vision ended. After the vision faded, the center platform changed again, revealing a landscape of endless sand and a tower composed of 3 smaller towers, all of different heights, placed in a triangular formation. The party immediately realized that this must be referring to the Turanite Desert, and could be where the next memoriam is located. Eleanor entered the room and informed the group that dinner had been prepared. The party now sits in the dining room, their first real respite since their journey has begun.